get started, the discussion is about the setup of the documents system and how it works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just a little bit of background and setup to let you see it, although this setup is something that once it's done, other people will not have the access to change as far as from a security standpoint. But I think it's important to lay the groundwork just so we understand what is within our control or administrator's control to come in and change. All right. If I go to modules, go to task system procedures. And I go into document management. In document management settings, again, this is something that normally an average user would not get to. This is where we get to set up in ServMan where the base root folder is for the documents in the system. Typically, well, first of all, it's got to be in a directory on your server somewhere that every user that logs into ServMan has access to. Typically, we do it within the ServMan company folder, and there's on your server a folder, I believe, called ServMan. And ServMan data, and then this company is the O2 company that we're dealing in right now. And that would be, we would put in another, and we'll call it, for the sake of discussion, just call it documents. This may or may not be where we wind up leaving it, but just showing you that we can assign at will where the document root resides, okay? And then we can assign a scan folder of when you scan your documents. Do you have a scanner that is on your network right now?
Yes.
Okay. When you scan, where does that go to?
You select what option you want to send it to. For example, in our existing database, there's an option here, scan it to the existing database, so it stores it automatically at the right folder for that database.
All right. Well, when you say the right folder for the database, within the database, because right now, all right, within the database, it will go to several places. So what we'll do, we'll set it to a specified area that it goes to, and we'll just do that as an example of where it would go. And
it sounds to me like we're going to end up with whatever folder structure we have on the database. We're going to mimic that folder structure on our scanner screen.
Here's the thing. On the scanner level, the scan can either go to one central location, or we can set up an individual scanner location by user. Individual users can have their own, basically, folder where their scanned documents go. When they're there, they've got to be imported into the actual individual detailed location within ServMan. Let me follow through with this because our structure is probably different than yours, and it goes to a greater level of detail. And let me get through with my discussion, and then you'll understand a little bit what I want. We have clients. Yeah, I know. We have clients, and there would be the clients folder is going to the ServMan data folder. All right, apparently this has already been set up for us. So it's been set up to a documents and docs folder. Let me go there and show you, since it's already been set up. I can go directly to a client and show you what happens within the client and how it works, okay? If we find a specific client, there's a Documents tab. There'll be a Documents tab under the client. There'll be a Documents tab under the orders in the clients, under the jobs contracts under the client. There'll be a Documents tab under the quotes, under the invoices, under the vendors. And the way that the path will go, it will start from that main top-level path, all right, which is your ServMan data, 01, which is the company. Apparently, it was set up even in the test here to go to the primary. That's okay. Within that, there's a Documents folder and then a Docs folder. And probably because you might have Docs, you might have some other stuff. Then within that, there's a Clients. And within the Clients now, all documents for the architect of the capital for this account number, all right, ARCH cap-221, all documents for this specific location account go in that folder. If it's for the root, for that client itself, it'll go in the root level of that folder. If it is an order, invoice, or job underneath that, it goes in a subfolder of that with, if there's one that exists, a specific order number. The reason that we do it with a folder level name to the specific order number or customer number or job number is because if we have just one folder for documents /clients and all of your clients are in that one folder, now you have to specifically by your account, your file name, have the client account number as part of the file name. That is very difficult to manage and also leaves a lot of room for error. We understand what I'm saying as far as that goes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if we go into one of these, and I go to Documents, and within this, I've scanned a contract, or I scanned a map of their venue, or I scanned whatever I scanned, okay? When you scan it, it goes into that scan. You can do one of two things. You can do it manually, the hard way, or you can do it automatically, in my opinion, the easy way. Manually, the hard way is as long as you know this folder name, you can scan it and drop it in physically there. You can open a Word document. You can create a spreadsheet document. And as long as you save it to that location or to the location of the orders folder underneath of it or whatever, all right, ServMan will show it in this view. However, typically that's problematic to make sure you're going to the right spot. So the procedure for doing it, and there's real good video on this, I believe. If not, I might be mistaken, but I thought they did a video on scanning techniques. Is you would you would scan the document, and it would drop it into your bucket, either on the server for a general bucket or a specific one for the user, and you go to Get Documents. There's a Get Documents button at the top. I'm going to get a document for this client. And what it does is it goes out to my folder on where my scanned documents are, okay? And I can highlight, apparently there were none there. I can highlight the scanned document that I want. And actually, I'm missing a button because I guess, there we go. Thank you. This is what I was waiting for. What you would see here is you would see a list of the documents that you have scanned, that you as an individual have scanned, or if it's a general bucket, wherever they are. And you can highlight the document and you can say Get Documents. And when you say to Get Documents, what it does is it will take that scanned document, right, whether it's a PDF of their contract, whether it is not necessarily scanned, but you've dropped in there a Word document or an Excel spreadsheet, and it will pull it into In this case, the general client, or if I was within an order, I would pull it into the order or the job. Okay? So that is the concept and the workings of how that happens. What you need to understand is that if you want to do, and let's just go to see if we have any specific work orders or whatever under any one of these guys. And I don't think I'm going to have an order for it. Oh, we do. Good. And doing it down to the order level may not make sense for you. Doing it to the contract level would, but it's going to be exactly the same thing. If I'm in a specific order, work order, or a specific invoice, or a specific contract, all right, and I go to the Documents tab, look at the folder levels that it brings me down to. It takes me to the company, to the docs, the document, the documents and docs, clients, then this specific client, then the orders folder for that client, then this specific order number. So you can have the file named anything that you want it to be. As long as it's down in this structure, we consider it linked to this work order. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
It doesn't. I'm trying to envision in the folder structure you guys have invoices, jobs, orders. We don't have stuff. To my knowledge, most of the documents we want to attach are real simple. Here's a signed contract, you know, for larger jobs or for customers just with a lot of small jobs. Here's a signed credit application. Either way, it's some version of a contract. And then with events, there are a specific form structure that has, you know, a placement map that's sent in and maybe some order forms that are sent in. But most of it's pretty, you know, and our current stuff is kind of junked up because there's too much crap that's just scanned in and attached to the customer. I kind of wanted to dumb it down and just say, hey, these are the documents that we want scanned in for all the customers. Am I missing something, Carmen? Why are we scanning an invoice? I don't get it.
Well, I don't think we are scanning an invoice. We are scanning like a document attached to an invoice that might go attached to an invoice. But we will really just attach to the client, to the location account.
Okay. This
not
is
to the invoice or to the order or.
Okay. Let me just make a comment. Okay. All this is, from ServMan's standpoint, is we're providing a tool to you to capture whatever you want to capture. What level of detail and what documents you decide to capture, here's where they go. If you decide everything that you're going to bring in, you're going to put in under this client level, and you're never going to go into the jobs level, that's fine. That's your decision. However,
but can you just give me an example? Are we missing the boat? I just wanted an example of I didn't understand what some of these would be. That's all.
Okay. Hear me out. And there are two words, Conrad, in what you just said a minute ago that really just jumped out at me. And those words were junked up. And your comment was that right now your client's documents folder is junked up with stuff. What we do here is we have the ability, if you choose to use it, it's up to you to file them under the contracts with the specific contract that it is for. If you choose not to do that, that's okay. If you want to put all of the contracts for a given customer location account under that account, then have at it. And then what you will have in this folder is you have every contract for that customer. If that's the case, be sure you name the file name something that is specific, that you understand that that file belongs to a specific contract, so you can find it easily in the future.
No, I just meant I don't understand where would a contract, in your terminology, where would a contract be sent to?
Well, it's not being sent anywhere. It's being stored and filed. That's why you're scanning it.
What folder would it be stored in?
It would be let's go specific.
Or
right?
should we be renaming these folders with our own terminology?
No. Let's go real specific. All right. Let's get out of this work order. Let's actually go to one of the contracts that's already there. And I'm going from this level because I don't know which customers it is, but if I go and do this, then I'll find them. I could just as easily have gone into Waterworks. We created Waterworks the other day, okay? I go into Waterworks, and within Waterworks is this contract. Remember we set up this contract?
Mm-hmm.
And this contract had, this job had these recurring orders that went with it. Where'd it go? Did it just show up on the other screen?
No.
All right, there it is. We have these recurring events on this contract that we set up, and we have this order on this contract that we set up, and we have some invoices we generated on the contract that we set up. And now if I go to the Documents tab, and I want to scan the physical contract the customer signed and link it as a document underneath this folder, underneath this entity in ServMan. When I scan it and I save it here, and let me go show you a familiar Windows view so you understand where we are. We are in Windows. Right, it's just a Windows folder view. And this is looking at the ServMan Data 01 Documents Docs clients, the Waterworks-35216 client. Under that client, the jobs. And for this specific job/contract number, I can have any number of documents scanned and affiliated with that contract. And I can name them whatever I want to. I can name it signed contract.pdf. I can name it blueprint or landscape view or whatever it is, .jpg or whatever the document is, and that document, those documents are all available to be seen under the Documents tab of this contract itself. That's where we see the organizational capabilities of this Documents tab being best used. If you try to put all
job, that's what at a higher level, that is driven up under the job folder.
Under the job folder, and under the job job folder that is within that client location, because that client may have a handful of jobs, but all the other clients you have together may have thousands of jobs. And then this is the way of organizing it.
So let me, and Heather or Carmen, chime in if you want here, but we're not going to go scan all these crazy work orders and go assign them back to each job. Rob would not be happy with that. So my take, and correct me if I'm wrong, is, you know, at the high level, the only thing we care about is getting a signed contract or signed credit app when it's appropriate. You know, so if it's at a customer level and this covers all their jobs, then we have one of those. If it needs to be location by location or job by job, then we have one of those. But we have something on file. Agreed? Or is there more documents at a high level that you think we should have stored.
That's about it.
Maybe a credit card, a reoccurring credit card signature form.
Yeah, that's like the credit card application or the credit card authorization. It's one or the other.
Well, the credit card, I mean, you decide. I think typically.
No, we're doing away with those. We have to.
All right. Yeah, you can't. Your problem is you can't. If you store any credit card information, it has to be encrypted. So when you put the credit card information, now, if you want to blank out the credit card number except for the last 4 digits, then scan it and attach it to the customer, you can do that. But the question is, do you really need to?
Wait, we can't enter the credit card numbers in here, and you guys don't encrypt them?
No. When you enter a credit card into ServMan, it gets encrypted. If you scan a document that has a credit card authorization form on it, that's illegal. To scan and save that document's illegal.
So you're saying, so to me, we get the form back, and we write the number in ServMan, and then we save it because then ServMan encrypts it, and then we take a black marker and black off all but the last 4 on the form, and we scan the form, and we're good to go.
And you scan if that's what you choose to do. All right. And so what will
our process there, Heather?
Yeah, we have that figured out. That wouldn't be the process because then we wouldn't have it for locked up file reference. So that would just be something that we put a note on or something, but we wouldn't scan that.
So outside of that, I don't see a ton of standard documents that would get attached. The only other time where there are different documents that would be attached are for a special event where there's 4 or 5 documents all associated with that event that would need to come in and out. Are there any other?
And if that, and by the way, and I agree that it would be needed for that. And if that's the case, it would go in exactly the same place. It would go. Sorry, we're both moving the mouse at the same time. It would go in under the event. This is the event contract. Okay. This is for Waterworks 35216 jobs. That is the contract ID for that event. And so that's where the stuff would go. That's my suggestion, rather than putting it directly here under the client's Waterworks account, because then if you have 20 events over the course of the years, everything will get mixed together. So that's why I'm suggesting the contract for that job goes with that job. And I think you're in agreement with that too. Because right now,
I mean, I'm going to mention briefly the process that Rob and I initially discussed, and we can just say, good luck. Call us back in 2013 to do that. But the process was, when someone places an order with us, we call up on the phone and they're filling out fields, boom, boom, hey, send me a restroom tomorrow. We're going to say, great, I'm going to click here, and you're going to have an email with 3 forms that go out to you. Your credit app, the order, a copy of the order you just placed, and a credit card payment file, if that's what they chose, where the order taker's clicking buttons on here's the type of customer they are, send them this. The system sends out these forms, and so when the customer when we get off the phone, the customer service rep doesn't email anything. They click the right buttons, and the system emails out these forms, and then they're instructed to email them back to a certain address, and the system then manages these forms coming back in, and if they're not back in at the right time, the system emails them back a reminder, and that's into the workflow. Does this seem like some pie-in-the-sky thing that
Okay, that's the whole thing was sending out the forms and hitting the buttons and everything else. That's well within capabilities of getting done. The second quarter, or within a couple months of getting up and live with ServMan, unless you set it as a higher priority, and it can be done. We can get that out for go live, not a problem. Pulling the stuff back in is a little bit different than what something I've seen before. We have to be spec'd out and talked through a little bit. Rob says we can do it. We can do it. That would just have to be discussed a little bit more detail.
But none of that has anything to do with how we set this process up. Is that
none of that has anything to do with this, with the exception that, and I need you to listen to me here, okay? When you bring the documents back in, when they email the documents back in, we need some way of knowing where they're going and some place for them to go to, okay? When they come back in, basically we've got an email address on a from and an email address on a to, and maybe we control something in the subject line, that the subject line has the customer ID in it or something, so that the system knows when it comes in who to attach it to. If it doesn't know that, then there's some human being that's going to need to do this, go into that order, go into that job, or go into that client and say, take that email and suck it into this location. Again, everything, if we can speak it, we can do it, but the bottom line is what we're talking about here is not automated importing from emails. We're talking about scanning documents, which was maybe the term of scanning was being used for meaning the term of importing documents, but this I wasn't talking about an automated import procedure. I was talking about you have a document, you drop it somewhere, either directly in the folder that you want it to land to, either under the contract or under the customer, all right? Or you drop it into a general location, either by scanning or whatever, and then you use the Get Documents button from within that folder, from within that customer or that contract, and it sucks it into it. But that's the basis of how we work currently. Did we raise more questions than we answered?
I'm not sure I followed everything perfectly. Carmen, is it very clear to you?
The way he showed us how it works, it's clear.
Let me just do this as a recap, and then.
Well, let me ask one other question.
Sure.
Is there a barcode or any type of other number that can go out on a document and customer signs it in the field, and when it comes back it just gets scanned in by bulk, and the system's smart enough to read that document number, barcode, whatever, and attach it to the right location? I'm not asking for custom programming. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, the barcode's not going to help it, because the barcode's not going to help it. But what would help it would be something similar to what I said, was maybe either at a specific location within the body of the document or specific location within the subject line of the email. All right, and you tell the customer always, you reply to this email, whatever, or however we do it. Somewhere, if you have that customer's account number in it, then we can automate a procedure to suck it in to that customer, okay? In the workflow you described to me, you would have to actually have the contract, the job created in order to have that entity to suck it into. So I'm thinking that if it's going to come back, it's going to have to come back into the customer themselves. And then once you create the contract, if you want to go and just drag and drop, it's just a Windows drag and drop, that signed contract from the Waterworks 35216 folder drag it into the subfolder of Waterworks 35216 jobs, and then the job number, the contract number, and drop it in there so that you can see it directly under that contract. That's up to you. But again, the whole concept, if we can speak it, we can do it. So in general, 10,000-foot view terms, yeah, we can automate that to a greater degree.
I just wanted to know what, some systems have, when invoices come back, there's a barcode on it. You can scan the barcode and it automatically pulls up the record for you to try to save data entry time. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't something built in that, hey, this document module looks very impressive and very inclusive. So I just want to make sure I understood the capabilities of it.
Okay.
And what I heard was there's nothing automated that where the system can read any kind of piece on there and put it in the right place. So we could go scan a stack of 100 pages and it would automatically file them in this correct structure.
Not as it's currently set up.
Cool.
Okay. Keep recording or stop recording, by the way.
I think maybe stop recording. It's pretty close. If Heather had a question. I don't know. Carmen, Heather?
Yeah. It was me. This is just a quick question so that we can discuss internally our document structure moving forward into the software. How does a location in ServMan become inactive? Is there a protocol set for it? No orders, no invoices? How does that take place?
You cannot have any open orders. All orders must be closed out. If you have any jobs, any contracts, you want to go and make sure that the contracts have closed out orders, that there's nothing pending. And then from there you can go, once you close out and post everything underneath of it, you can set the customer to inactive. Setting a customer to inactive keeps the customer in the system, right? I don't think so. Keeps the customer in the system, and the main thing that it does is it drops them off of your active list. In other words, they're still there, all right? But if you go to try to find them to go do something new, the ones that you know are inactive are no longer polluting your active customer list. You can always refer back to them and bring them back up by going and looking at the inactive customers, right, or looking at the list of all. But look at the inactive customers and go into the customer and reactivate them at any time. I know I answered more than you asked, but I was trying to anticipate some other questions.
Okay.
But this is something that needs to be manually done, right? You gotta review the location, see that everything is closed, nothing is pending, no balance, no invoices, nothing, and then close it or set it up as inactive.
Well, I believe
there's a routine that you can do the system. Okay, look for all these customers with all these criteria and set them to inactive.
Well, you can go. We have a report for customers that no activity since. All right. For customers that have not had any work orders since a certain date, and we can automate some sort of routine if you want. I don't believe we currently have something, although it doesn't mean that we haven't written it for somebody. I have to find out that goes out and checks your customers that are inactive with no open orders and set them as inactive. I can find out if we've ever done that. The one thing, and I believe without testing it I can't be positive, but just so that you understand, you can set a customer as inactive even if they still owe you money, as long as they don't have any open active orders of work to be done. Because you can say, this customer, we're not going to take any future business from him, we stopped, and he may still owe you, a couple $1,000s. Well, that's part of the AR and the collections process of posted, already done business. It has nothing to do with making them inactive so that you can't do business with them in the future. You follow me on that?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure that was on.
But every time that the collection person looks for the customer, she will have to include the inactive ones as well, right? To be able to
if they've made it inactive, and that's my understanding without testing it specifically. But that's what's in the back of my mind about that.
Okay.
Carmen, do you know where to make a customer inactive, or is that something we need to see just briefly where it's located?
Just show me where I can do that. Where do I
right
change
there
the status?
In the center at the top. See where it says active? Right underneath the bill to address?
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions?
No, I think we need to move on. And I think the next on the agenda was two pieces that are talking about speccing things. Are you out of time here, Rich?
Hang on one sec. Let me check. I'm going to stop the recording.
That or I think you guys know that better than I do.
Yeah, let me talk through that. Let me talk through the concepts. Let me talk through some of the restrictions. Let me talk through some of our assumptions. And I am recording this so that I've restarted recording so that we can get, as you have questions, whatever, we can review the notes or review this video on what we've talked about so we understand the concept. And we just lost somebody, probably Heather. That's fine.
Let them go whenever they want.
Yeah, cool. All right. When we talk about this whole process of, and we're talking about the pickup and delivery orders, correct?
Yes. We're talking nothing to do with service here.
All right, right.
This is when an order comes in that will take more than one truck, meaning more than 26 delivery spaces to fulfill that order.
Correct.
Which is only large events, which is pretty much.
All right. I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you a couple
orders,
of specific.
100 orders, maybe 200 orders a year, but they are a significant piece. So anyway.
All right. I'm going to ask you some specific questions because I have, based on the answers, I'm going to have some recommendations on how to handle it. Okay? But a lot of it's going to be dependent on your answers and the way you guys are doing your scheduling now, the way you want to do the scheduling. And we're talking about setting, I'm making notes too while I'm talking, setting up deliveries for large orders. All right. If you have a customer location that needs 75 toilets, currently, how many trucks do you assign to do that? Do you assign like one or two drivers to just be dedicated to taking the stuff out there till it's there? Explain to me your scheduling workflow on that.
So in this, what will happen is they'll create an order that will say 75 trucks. They'll put all the information in the order accurately, and then they will copy the order. And
now, hang on. Are you telling me how you currently do it, or are you telling me how you think you're supposed to do it in ServMan?
I'm telling you how we currently do it.
All right, go ahead.
So they create a work order with exactly how it's supposed to be set up. The work order is not assigned to anybody. It's not set up. It just says, hey, deliver 500 SDs or 75 SDs to between Monday at 10 a.m. and Friday at 6 p.m. They set the start date in our database to Monday, and they set the backup date, or I can't remember the name of the field, to Friday. There are no times associated with those fields, so that hence the reason for the text, the driver's notes having the times in it. And they save that work order, and then they copy that work order, and then they manually reduce. They make one that's 26 and one that's 26, and then take 75 minus 52, and whatever the remainder is, that the third work order would be for that truck. And then whatever massaging goes on from there, dispatch might change it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So on the partial load, the 26s would be set. On the partial load, if they decided they're going to take 15 on this truck and put 4 handicaps on there because it fits better, then dispatch massages it a little from there.
Perfect. And that works for you?
No. It's horrible, but.
All right, why?
It's not. I think a lot of times larger events end up being worked out of a spreadsheet more than that. But
all right,
we have a new operations leader in town for the past 18 months, and I believe he's running a tight work order. They want to get to it used to be that they would put in one order, 500 units, and the dispatchers would run it off a spreadsheet and just kind of copy the work order, and maybe they got it back, maybe they didn't, and it wasn't really posted in our system. And Rob has tried to transition things to you don't leave without this exact work order and with the exact amount of units on it being accurate. So depending on how ServMan handles that and the administrative effort required, then we'll figure out how that's going to happen going forward.
Okay. Any other comments you want to make on what you're doing, what's working about what you're doing, what's not working about what you're doing before I show you a suggested way to do it in ServMan?
I'm thinking. There's a whole lot of comments, but
Well, keep in mind. I'm gonna throw out
my point. So we've sent a whole lot of information your way, but yeah, next fall you ought to come out for a football game and make a SWATs and sit down and have a work session with how our large event planning would go on to see whether it's worth trying to do something in ServMan with. Anyway.
All right. Then I'm going to throw out a tentative workflow based on my understanding of what I just heard. Okay, and this is I think very similar to what you're doing, which should make it easy for you to transition to it. If you don't like what you're doing, understand I'm emulating your current process because you're telling me that that's working for you. So don't come back later and tell me ServMan's too hard, because I'm modeling it after the way that you're saying that it's working for you right now. Okay. And what? Yeah.
I'm teasing.
All right. So here's the thing. With these large orders, to some degree, there's no escaping the fact that they have to be manually managed. All right. Whether you manage one very large order manually, or you break it up into multiple small orders to work, either way, somebody's going to have to tweak it somehow. My thoughts are that basically what you're doing right now is really about the only logical way to handle this and have an audit trail of what was done and be able to make sure that no balls got dropped. Okay? What I would suggest is you start with the order with the 500 or however many units, and that you break them down to the multiples, whatever your maximum capacity is. Now, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a couple questions, and this is going to affect a little bit some options that we might have, or to automate or not automate. When you do that, do you basically dedicate one or more guys or trucks to get that thing delivered out until it's done, or does a guy, and I think I asked you this question before, but just so that we get it on tape, if the guy goes out and has 150 to deliver, how many trucks would you split that over, and would the guy do anything else during that day or only make deliveries to that site until he's done?
So historically, it's been random. I'll give you the most typical example. You know, there are, running roughly a fleet of 6 that I think this year is going to get expanded to 8 or 10 because of, but anyway, if we have, so 6 is roughly a payload of 150. If we have an event that has to be delivered on Friday where there are 300 toilets to go, what will probably, downtown, you know, meaning 2-hour round trip, what will probably happen is 6 drivers will leave early in the morning, all of them go to the site and do 1 load, and then a number of those drivers will come back and then start doing a regular, smaller route for the day, and a number of remaining drivers will go back and pull the remaining last 2 or 3 loads. That's probably what's most typical.
When they come back, they come back empty, or you make them do any other pickups on the way back?
Historically, they would come back empty. We have much more sophisticated operations management that is still learning, still learning our industry, and a driver and developing tools like this auto scheduler piece and so forth to help him better figure out how to optimize that type of stuff. So okay. I'm sure they'll I'm gonna take that back. I think for the most part, no, they will come back empty, because when they're delivering events on weekends, it's when we're so tight for time, and the monthly, when you're done with a construction job and you call in for a pickup, if it doesn't leave the site for 2 or 3 days, you don't care. So they're usually the pickups are at a lower priority. So it would be, I think 20% of the time they might pick up because there would be another large event finishing where they could do that. A lot of the time they'd be coming back empty.
All right.
And the only other thing to say is most of the time when they leave here and they go to a large job site, they're not going to come back here to fill up. They're going to go to either FedEx Field or RFK or our Elk Ridge facility, because those are all closer to most of the large event sites than our headquarters is.
All right. Then my feeling is that on these large jobs that they're going to be scheduled and managed manually, that you're not going to use the optimization and the route building, because that is really...
Yeah, we're definitely not doing that.
Yeah, and that you will do exactly what you've been doing. is you will break down into the multiple work orders by capacity. You will drag them onto the individual guys for those days and get them scheduled out, get them moved out. Each individual work order will be handled as an individual work order with its proper documentation, just like they would do any other individual run. And that's my feelings on that. And I don't think there's any big mystery about it. And as long as we understand that the way that the whole optimizing process goes, and this might be a good point to bring that into the mix. Have you been trying the drill down and the optimizing and working through that yet, really playing with that?
Initially, yes. The last few days, no. Carmen's been working on it with our dispatchers.
Okay. Have you done it since Ralph added the capacities and all that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The whole concept, understanding the whole concept, and this is.
But you're talking about the optimize on scheduler. That has nothing to do with this piece. I know we're not.
No.
We're not
Well,
using that.
it has nothing to do with
all I'm saying is, hey, I think ServMan probably has the capability to copy the work order the same way TAC does. Ralph talked about, I don't suggest it might be too powerful a word, but saying, hey, we could take that order and not have to, you wouldn't have to copy it each time and do the math yourself. We could take that order and hit a button and have it break it down in the right number of orders automatically. That sounded like something that would create a lot less errors and make the process tighter. Other than that, that's it. Simple, sweet.
All right, and let me find out. Yeah, I got you on that. Let me find out about that, automating that. I understand exactly what you're talking about. The reason why I brought up the optimizing unscheduled is because I want to be sure that you understand something about that whole program and the concept of that, and how it interfaces with this. Okay. The optimize unscheduled, the way it's defined is you build onto that list of unscheduled orders, you drill down based on criteria of your preferred date, maybe a geographic area, zones, or zip code or city or something, and all the orders that fill that bill for what you're trying to schedule out. And if you're trying to schedule out and you try to schedule out and you're building, got 300 orders in this general area, and build me X number of routes. I've got 5 trucks for these 300 orders, and build me what works the best. The way it's going to work is it's going to start with one order, one location.
I've talked about this till I'm blue in the face. I need to chime in here and ask for some advice.
Go ahead.
Right before we left for the Christmas holidays, Ralph and I had a very long discussion. I don't remember why. He called me about something, and we talked about getting this. He was saying, which one do I want to get going first? And I said, whichever one we think we can spec. We talked about the route, the unscheduled route optimizer in great detail, and I couldn't get it fully resolved with him, the perfect spec. And a lot of the confusion was around exactly what you're saying, which was, is a route going to force a truck to fill up before it goes to the next one? And
the answer is yes.
Yeah, and that's what I couldn't get out on that call. What I got was, Ralph understands our business needs, and it's going to take some tweaking, but he thinks we need to stop focusing around dispatch enhancement tools and focus around trying to automate this so a dispatcher can set this routine similar to the way the sprinkler maintenance customer you guys have do, run it, and they don't look at the routes, they go forward. And we agreed that that might take 6 months to get to, but we could get to that. And the only thing, the only variable that it could not account for was truck size. And we figured out a workaround that after I talked to dispatch. You and I touched base, and I said, hey, Ralph wants to give this a ride. He seems pretty confident he knows our business processes. I'm just going to let it fly. My gut tells me at this point that whatever the cost of that was, $8,000 or whatever, I have totally wasted. And we're going to end up with something that doesn't, if you have to go down, if you have to drill down to set a specific location, that you've just built the route. I don't really know what to do. I don't want to start creating a big conflict with your best developer. I was taken way aback when he sent that note back saying, hey, I don't really remember this, and but yeah, it fills a truck. Maybe as we test it more, it'll possibly work. And maybe the thing is that we just have to have large enough pieces in there so it will fill trucks, because that seems to be the kicker. If you don't fill a truck, it's going to route it's going to route inefficiently. But I'm between you and I am way taken back. I don't know what to do.
All right. Well, let's.
And I'm not complaining to you. I'm asking for advice.
All right.
And it may be just, Conrad, shut the fuck up.